the slides there?
Yes.
Yes, okay, I see a head nod, good.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so let's jump in. Like Mr. Doyne pointed out, we are so thankful that you're joining us today. We don't have a lot of presentation. This really is a work session. So before we get started, we're going to ask you to have access to your child's student ID number, their grade level, their name as we have it here at school, and also a device. So either your cell phone or another device, probably not the device that you're on the Zoom call with. That may be difficult to do both, but we do need you to have a device to be able to get to the links that we're going to ask you to get to. All right, and does anyone need more time to get those items, or are we okay to start? And a good way to communicate, we're just a small group. There's only 33 of us. You can either unmute and then say what you need to say, or you can type it in the chat and we'll be checking the chat. Okay. All right. So good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Irish. I'm the proud principal here at Lowburn Middle School. And we just want to kick off with a big welcome, a congratulations, and a thank you for being here. Welcome, obviously, because we are all so glad to be with you at this moment, walking through this process. Congratulations, because this is a big step in your children's educational journey. Going to high school is a big deal, and we want to make sure that they have a good start. We do have some guests with us here. As you know, Mr. Doyne, our parent instructional coordinator, helped to coordinate this meeting for us tonight. But we have our 8th grade team that I would like to take a moment to let them introduce themselves to you, and a member of our high school partnership team. So Mrs. Cooks, can you jump on and say hello?
Good afternoon, parents, and thank you again. As Dr. Irish said, this is always an exciting time as students are still in 8th grade, but we're already looking, and turning the page towards getting them ready for their 9th and 10th grade year if they're gear up. So thank you for being here tonight, and hopefully we will be able to give you some information that will help to get this process underway.
Awesome, thank you. Mr. Brogdon, are you on the call?
Yes, ma'am. So, hi, parents. I'm Zach Brogdon. I'm the other 8th grade assistant principal. I'm just happy to be able to join y'all in this exciting journey, especially choose a big thing, and looking forward to helping any way I can with it.
Thank you, Mr. Brogdon. Mr. Charonlap is a high school representative who has given up part of his evening to be here to help families that we both will share soon. And so, Mr. Charonlap, if you're able to unmute, can you say hello?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Hello, friends, families, Lowburn families. Thank you so much for taking this opportunity to select McClure or Meadow Creek High School, 2 great high schools in the Meadow Creek cluster, and just so proud of the upcoming years that we'll have with your students.
Awesome. We know that this can be
So at least y'all tell us the right school.
We know that this can be a
confusing
process. So families, if you could make sure you're muted unless you have a specific question, that way everyone can hear all of the steps. Our goal is to get you out of this call as fast as possible and successfully as possible, having made the selection for your child. By now, we are hoping that you attended the informational sessions at both McClure and Meadow Creek. We ask you to go to both, even if you may already have your mind made up. By now, we would have had conversations with our 8th grade or Gear Up child, and by now we would be ready to make a selection because the window is open and the process actually closes today. So if you already made a high school selection for next year, we ask you just hang around for just a moment. There will be a moment where you can exit the call if you're completed, but we're asking you just to hang out for just one moment. Okay, so there's a rumor that if you're going to Meadow Creek, you don't really need to worry about doing anything. They changed what they're asking for families to do. So all students who are in 8th grade or Gear Up should make a selection of one of the 2 Meadow Creek cluster high schools. So we're either choosing McClure or we are choosing Meadow Creek High. all students. So that deadline is today, as you just heard. You would have gotten an email letter home. A written letter was sent home by Mrs. Cooks and Mr. Brogdon. They sent that home with your child. But there was an email, electronic email sent home, inviting you to do this process. So this is what's on your screen is what the email looked like. When you were in that email, you would have gone to a link to look at what what McCluer had to offer. You could have looked at what Meadow Creek had to offer and then go down to click to begin the process. There was also a QR code on there, like a image that you scan with your phone. So there were two ways to get into the form. And this is what we want to help you with today. We do know that this is new to some families, and so it might have been confusing. Once you click on that link or go to the QR code, this is what you would have seen. So I'm going to take a moment for interpreters to catch up. I know it may take a little longer, but I want families just to look. And if this looks familiar and you remember going through this process, you already made a selection and your child is signed up for high school, then you are good to go. But we ask you just stay on the call just for one moment. If you've never seen this form before, or you went into the form and you were confused about what to do, then that's why we're having this call today. All right, so what we found out, Mrs. Cooks gave me some information about how many have signed up. We actually only had 86 students out of 528 sign up. That's only 14%. So we're missing a lot of our families. We're missing a lot of our students. And we're just worried that we're waiting until very close to the time that we sign up for actual courses to realize that we're not signed up for a high school. So we want to take care of that today by helping you out. At this time, I'm going to pass the mic to Mrs. Cooks and Mr. Brogdon and Mr. Charonlap, and they're going to work through helping our families follow the steps. Just a quick disclaimer that we want to let you know that the form stops at a certain point if you don't have a specific child that you're signing up. So we're going to do our best to walk through the steps, but just know that we won't be able to show you every single step because none of us have an 8th grader who's signing up through this process. But we're going to do our best to show you all of the steps so that you can be completed by the end of tonight. Okay, Mrs. Cooks, I'm going to mute and pass it to you.
Thank you, Dr. Irish. And I guess I'm just having some questions, just asking if we can get some feedback if you have tried and you've had some issues with it. Mr. Dorn was giving me several different pieces of information from families. Some might have been technology based. They couldn't get through it. They were being forced to go to another registration page. If you got to the screen and you were confused about the clusters, we had some questions about that. So can I get some people to just kind of tell me a little bit?
I'm sorry, I may have missed your question, but one thing I didn't say in the messages about where parents are having trouble is the birth date. And I believe that the system is very particular about how they want the birth date written. And I'm allowing our interpreters to explain it as well. I'm not sure that there's about 4 or 5 parents asking questions in the chat right now, and they're telling us they're having trouble. It's all in Spanish. So we definitely need Ms. Robles to be able to explain this to the Spanish folks. So make sure they're writing their birth date exactly like I am in the chat right now, with the 2 dates for a month and then the day, which is backwards to many of our families how they write their dates.
Exactly.
And then use those hyphens and not the slashes. So this is how they need to write the birth date of their child. And that's been tripping up at least the several parents that I know about.
Okay. And then I think the other question that we were getting multiple questions about was the cluster. Just understanding that both McCluer and Meadow Creek are both a part of the Meadow Creek cluster. So when the question comes up after this, do you live in the cluster? Your answer would be yes. And we're assuming that if you're in our middle school now, you belong to our cluster, unless you're on a permissive transfer. meaning you had to get permission to come to the school because you lived out of the district address zone.
Yeah, and there are some questions about, I don't know that the system, I think I've seen some parents receive a confirmation email, but maybe Mr. Charlap can explain that. Is there some sort of confirmation that the parents should expect that they've selected their high school and what high school they've selected?
Yes, Mr. Doran, a great question. As far as I know, I do not believe Qualtrics is going to be sending out a confirmation email. I do know, however, that if you're making a selection with your student, and let's say you did that in a previous window a couple days ago, but have decided that you want to select into the other high school, that we will be taking the most recent selection. But as far as to your question, Mr. Doran, no, there will not be a confirmation email.
And
Okay, other than that, go ahead, Mr. Doran, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say one or two of the parents was asking that question in the chat. That's what brought it to mind.
Okay. But this, to my understanding, is very simple. Basically, you need the student ID, the birth date, and when you advance to the next page, it's going to ask you that question about the cluster. And then from there, it's going to just, ask you for your name as the parent.
Are we allowed to take a volunteer if anybody wants us to put their child's information on the screen and we can just walk it through on maybe the English one's in English, one's in Spanish? I'm not sure if we're allowed to.
So
Ask.
in theory we are, but we would ask them to share after the student ID number is entered. I don't know that we would want that out,
Okay.
Right.
but the following page where it's just, parent name and school choice, then we can go live after that.
Right.
Also, just to make people aware, because I saw it in here, Mr. Charlap actually sent the link in case any parent needs that as well. It is in the chat at 6:18 p.m.
Awesome.
So I would say there's maybe 3 parents are saying they need help registering their child. So maybe we can ask them what specific issues they're having after they go into the link, so we can walk them through it.
And I will say that if any students are permissive transfer students, there would be some additional steps. These are for students who would be feeding over to Meadow Creek. So if you have a different homeschool cluster, then you'll have to reach out to us first to help walk you through that. But if you're living in this zone and your children go to the schools in Meadow Creek, then you should be easily able to walk through these steps. But we are here to help. So just let us know what you're confused about.
Thank you. And Ms. Robles, our interpreter in Spanish, is asking that question in the chat as well.
And we do have one parent here, Dr. Irish, that I did check with because her student, of course, is coming to school with her here. And she was not able to advance any further. She did not, get to do anything else because she is on a permissive transfer.
Great, and that's a great example. So there's another process, but if you are on a permissive transfer, then email Mrs. Cooks or Mr. Brogdon, and then we will get with the person who handles our permissive transfers to get you a form to go ahead and complete that for the high school. Actually, Chad, do you know if you guys have started accepting those for next school year yet?
Dr. Irish, great question. Our permissive transfer request, we are intaking them, but we will not be able to communicate approval permissive transfers until end of January.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We're the same here, but I didn't know if you all were starting earlier, so thank you.
All right, Miss Anna is saying thanks very much for the help. I could register him.
Awesome.
Awesome, great job.
Yeah, I believe once folks get through the student birthday and that cluster question, everything else is just the parent information, first, last name, email, and then just the selection of the high school, and that's pretty much it.
There's one parent that's mentioning the error that not error, but the issue that I saw last week. Some parents for some reason are being taken, I think, to parent view, and I'm not sure why that is. So the parent that just said this is iPhone and it's saying new student, and I think it's register new student. So instead of going there, I'm just giving her that direct link that Mr. Charan posted in the chat earlier.
Perfect.
Mr. Doyle, did you say that's happening when they're a new student?
No, for some reason, I'm really not sure why some parents are being redirected to parent view. I'm not sure what's going on their end that's leading them to parent view rather than the link that Mr. Charlat posted. But it's happened several times that I'm aware of. So instead of going to parent view, we're just asking them to go directly to this Qualtrics link.
Nice, and I see a lot of people asking about status updates, just kind of like, is my child going to Meadow Creek, or is my child enrolled, or did I complete? So what we're going to ask you to do is that if you completed the process and you still, well, hang on one second. So Mr. Chairman Locke, when are you guys going to communicate to the families of those who registered for your school? When should they look out for communication?
Yes, Dr. Irish, let me speak with Dr. Wood, principal at Meadow Creek High School, and Ms. Mosley at this time, just to make sure that we have our timelines correct. But they can anticipate communication within the month.
Okay, so give it a couple of weeks.
Yes, ma'am. And I think for all intents purposes, we'll communicate before breaks end if they have selected, just to confirm and make sure that we have their selection on file.
Yeah, and we will be communicating with the families and students of those who have not signed up. So if you don't receive any communication from us, then that means that we have your child down as having made a selection. But we will also say that the high school will not communicate before the window closes, because parents are allowed to make a different choice. At the end of the closing of the window, they're going to take the most recent choice that you made. But we're just trying to make sure you have something selected as of as of today. But if you change your mind, I understand you may have a day to do that, or a couple of days to do that. But just know that you will hear from them after the window closes and the list is finalized.
Dr. Ash, and others, there is a question that I thought might come up this evening. I don't know if you saw it. Rosario is asking, hi, I would like to get information on both schools.
Okay. Any one of us can chime in. Ms. Cooks, were you saying something?
I was just gonna say, are the links on the email that was sent, right? That they can go to each of the school links to find out information about the schools, both schools?
And maybe while we have a representative of one of the schools, maybe we can allow him to say a couple of things.
Yes, Ms. Cooks, you are correct. So parents, if you're navigating and using that email that was sent, you absolutely have the opportunity to navigate both websites, both McClure Health Science High School and Meadow Creek, to make a great decision for your student. Just a little bit about Meadow Creek and McClure Health Science High School. You really do have an opportunity at two great high schools in our cluster. The big differences is with McClure Health Science High School, your student will be able to have an opportunity to engage in elective or pathways aligned to healthcare and health science. That's going to be the biggest difference. At Meadow Creek High School, your students will have an opportunity to engage in pathways aligned to STEM, public service and leadership, and our international business. Both schools, if your student selects either school, they'll have the opportunity to engage in athletics at Meadow Creek High School. So that shouldn't be a problem either. Any specific questions that may arise, I'm happy to field those questions, but those are really going to be the two big differences between the two great high schools in the selection.
Thank you. And I just wanted to circle back to a question that was asked before. As I look back at the job aid, the very last statement says that parents will receive an email with a summary of their preferences. So after you've made your selections here using the email that you put in, you are supposed to be receiving an email.
Ms. Cooks, thank you for that. That's great news.
There are a few parents that have said they needed help, and we've posted the link where they need to log in. Maybe our interpreters, if you don't mind asking in your channels to see if anybody else needs more help with this, or where they might be getting stuck, so we can help guide them. There's a parent that sent me a direct message, and I'm thinking they don't mind me asking this question. They say, "Good evening. I would like to know what school has more engineering opportunities." Mr. Charnlap, I don't know if you want to field that question.
Hi, yes, excellent question. So, as far as STEM or engineering opportunities, Meadow Creek High School is going to have a full pathway aligned to the engineering design process. Also, we have a mechatronics pathway, so it's engineering with an emphasis in robotics. We also have a architecture pathway. So all three of those pathways live within our STEM academy, along with computer science. But that would be the probably most direct with engineering pathways. Meadow Creek would offer that. Trying to think if McClure Health Science has anything tangential to that, but I don't believe so.
Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Elvira. I'm not sure if Ari is in, I think she's in the Spanish room. Can someone help her? Looks like she's not able to do the registration.
Somebody asking about GSMST. All right. Ms. Cooks, Mr. Brogdon, somebody else want to field the question about GSMST? Or I can do my best.
Yes, sir. I think you probably have the most current information that you sent out about the SMST as well as School of the Arts.
Okay, now the questions are coming fast and furious, right? Which is great. Why we're here. All right, so GSMST, let me see what the question was. Andrew, ¿cómo es con el proceso para la escuela de GSMST? How is it with the process for the process with GSMST? So GSMST is the Gwinnett School of Mathematics, Science, and Technology. It is a lottery school, and not all students are eligible to attend. I probably need to get the exact verbiage from the, let's see. So GSMST eligible students must be enrolled in enhanced algebra, which is probably what about Ms. Cooks, maybe 20% of our 8th graders, would you say, are in that enhanced algebra class?
Yes, that is correct.
All right, and so all of our Gear Up students are in that class, but some of our students on team 8D, is any students beyond 8D and Gear Up, Ms. Cooks, in enhanced algebra?
No, those are our
Okay.
two cohorts.
Okay, so they would either have to have Miss Richardson or Miss Crow to be eligible for GSMST. And not all of Miss Crow's students are eligible for GSMST. They have to be in the enhanced algebra class. But they also have to have scored a 550 or higher on the math section of the PSAT, and those results are available. Or if they do not score a 550 or higher on the math section of the PSAT, they must earn a score of 85% or higher on a test given by GSMST on May 3rd. So those are the requirements for students to even apply for the lottery for GSMST. And January 17th is the deadline for that application for the lottery. Let's see, and there is, I strongly encourage families of students who are interested in applying for GSMST, if they've not already done so, to attend the information session at GSMST on Thursday, January 9th at 7 p.m. So you can have any other questions answered.
That brings up another point too, Mr. Dorn, is that we do want parents to go ahead and make a selection for either McClure or Meadow Creek in case students do not get accepted into GSMST or School of the Arts. They must have a seat at one of the schools. So they must make a selection, even though they are applying for the other two, either of the other two.
Oh, thanks whoever typed that in there. Okay, Dr. Ash, thank you. Let's see, and there's a bunch of questions further up. Let's see. Okay, so Miss Navrata says, she says her attempt was invalid. That contact the school for high school application. Okay, so I'll just ask her to try again. And then she can, and then I don't mind if, so are we saying that if for some reason they continue to have technical issues and can't figure it out tonight, I know we announced tonight is the deadline. Are we gonna allow them to come to school, say tomorrow? and maybe you already answered that.
Yes.
Okay, okay.
Mr. Doing, are we, can they give us like some specifics on where they're getting hung up? Like is it in the birthday area? Because we just want to make sure they're putting it in exactly where it's asked.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna ask Mom this right now. Señor Navarrete Tellez, or Ms. Robles, maybe you can ask Ms. Navarrete Tellez if she's in the Spanish channel. If you could ask her, and we can unmute her to explain where she's having trouble. So Chino is asking when's the last date for registration. Today is technically the last day for registration, but it sounds like we're telling parents that if they're having trouble, they can come to school tomorrow and we can help them. I
So I'm not sure if anybody else has seen this question, but Ms. Burke in the chat said, can I make a school selection for a cluster school and also apply to GSMCT? Yes, that's ideal. That way there's a seat at that cluster school. And then if by chance you were to get a seat based off the lottery, then that change would be made once the acceptance was made. Correct?
Absolutely.
And I am asking parents to text me, so we don't have the students' confidential information out there, ID and birth date, because I think I can sort of walk through. I've been walking through parents over text with this too, so I'll just have them text me, so I can help them with that. All right, let's see. So one question: if my daughter is in Gear Up, and if she goes to McClure, yeah, this is a great question. Will she be in 10th grade or will she be in 9th grade? And I think I now know how to answer that, but I'd love for an administrator to try if they would like.
So I'll take that, Doing, being I'm the Year Up AP. As long as she has the credits that she needs, she would start in 10th grade. There are several of our classes in Gear Up that are Carnegie units, and that would be what would provide her the advancement into 10th.
And Mr. Brogdon, I'll add something to that just based on what a couple of the Gear Up teachers have told me. Unless, well, and you can correct me. I'm being told, and this is as of 2 weeks ago, that yes, they will be 10th grader, but they will show up on paper as a 9th grader due to the way their scheduling system works. Can you say more about that, Mr. Brogdon?
Yes, from what I have talked with other Gear Up APs in the past, that sometimes is just a clerical mistake, which we are going to aim to fix that this year by informing those schools ahead of time. I've already talked with one of the APs at, I believe, McClure. She's the 10th grade AP over there. And it's just something that occurs in the transition, but they do recognize them eventually as 10th graders. It's just just a clerical error, basically.
Great. Now that parent is asking, how do I know if her son is in that correct algebra course to be eligible for GSMST? And I'll just ask her to text me with the kid's name and I can go from there.
Thank you, Mr. Doan. Dr. Irish, I was just checking back. You asked the parents to kind of stay on. Is there something else that you want them to do, or are they able to exit once they are successful?
No,
Because I don't know.
sorry, that is exactly correct. That I was waiting for many of the questions to be answered, which I
Okay.
think they have been.
Okay,
But it looks like Mr. Doyne has given a number to reach out to certain individuals who have questions. So I think at this point, we can go ahead and sign off. We intended to only keep you here for about half an hour. So, if you still continue to have trouble, don't get worried. We're gonna make sure that your child is enrolled. We'll work with you to help you. I know the deadline is tonight, but we also know if you're having technical issues, we will work with you. The high school's on the call, so they know and can see in the chat that there are some people who still can't get in. We're gonna have to work with those individuals one-on-one to see where you're having the problem, so that we're not holding everyone up from moving on with their night. I'm gonna ask you at this time to log off and say good night. If you're good, if your child signed up, you got that last screen showing completed, then you are perfectly good and you're ready to go. And we thank you for being here. If you still continue to have issues, send a private message. Mr. Doyne, how do you, I don't want to give bad advice. How do you want them to get help?
Well, I mean, ideally, if I'm sticking to what I'm trying to encourage all families to do is use Parent Square, but I think it'd just be just as easy for them to text me on my cell phone number.
Okay, so because we're moving into the year 2024, so we're using Parent Square this year. So what I heard Mr. Doyne say is that if you have a question, send him a Parent Square message and he will respond to that message. And that's a good way, an easy way to go back and forth and for him to keep up with all of the questions. Again, we will make sure all students who, the families on this call and you need help, we will work with you. Please reach out if you did not have a successful completion tonight. Mr. Doyne, are you able to launch a really quick poll with those who are left? I'm just curious to know before they log off, how many were able to
Awesome.
successfully complete
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Irish.
the process.
Yeah, I think I
And
can.
once you answer the poll question, then you can go ahead and log off. And we thank you so much for being here. And we will offer more help sessions like this throughout the articulation process going up to high school. But this one is tonight, and you can give yourself a big pat on the back. You are done with the steps. If you're not done, we will connect with you to make sure you can get done.
I'm only going to put in English and Spanish just for speed's sake. Okay, let's see.
Miss Ledon, if you could help to translate, I understand the poll would be in English and Spanish, but we may need some help with translating in other languages what the questions are. But we just want to know, did this help? So that when other things come up, we know if we should use this format again. Were you able to get through this process? So you can select yes or no, and then once you select yes or no and hit submit, then you can log off and have a great night, and we'll see you next time.
3 people have voted, 2 people said yes, 1 person said no.
Okay. And again, if your answer is no, don't be worried, because you now know that this process is here, and that's one of the things we were worried about. But we would follow up with you to see what we can do to help you if your answer is no.
And that's another thing I was going to say, spread the news to parents that you that you know who are not present on this call. That's one thing we were concerned about if you were aware of the process.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's still see we have 26. on the call. I don't know if we still have questions going on in the chat or if we're just waiting.
Real quick, Ms. Burke, I responded to your chat about where can you make the high school selection. There is a link that I've attached to your reply. You can start there and just go through entering your student's ID number and birthday, and then it'll be past those that initial question set.
All right, guys, you get an A+ for tonight's class. Thank you for joining us. We're going to let you go ahead and sign off. And again, if you are not successful, then our plan at this point is to reach out with a parent square to Mr. Doyne, letting him know I was not successful. I need help. And then he will connect you to either himself or one of the 8th grade APs to get through this process. But we're going to make sure that if you are aware that this needs to happen and you're asking for help, then we're going to give you the help to get through it. And it's okay. You may just need individual help. That's okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
Ms.
So
Robles,
sorry.
I was seeing a message from Ms. Karina Robles, and I was going to let her know that she should receive an email because one of the pieces of information that goes into that survey is your email address, and they will send you an email saying what your preferences were.
Mhm.
I don't have this opportunity too much, so I'm just going to mention something about Mr. Charlap. I found this out a couple years ago that he is a former Lilburn Middle School student. Hope I didn't blow your cover there, Mr. Charlap. I just love that.
Thanks, Mr. Doyne. Once a Mustang, always a Mustang.
Yes, sir. See, where was the poll? Okay, in the poll, there was 2 people that said, 2 out of 8 people that answered it said they could not. But it doesn't give me the names of those people. That would be handy, huh? Okay, so Elizabeth's asking, same thing. How can is there a confirmation message that will be sent? Did they, whoever explained that, did somebody, I think Mix Cooks found that? Yeah. What did they say when they're going to get the confirmation?
It doesn't specify a time. It just says, after completion, the parents will receive exactly it says, parents will receive an email with a summary of their preferences. But it gives no time. I'm thinking that once they have done it within the next minute or next day, they should be getting a email confirmation. I'm not sure. That'll be a test that we need to ask the parent on, Mr. Doyne, who's been successful with it.
So I know there were some people at least that were in the meeting that said they were successful. So maybe they can tell us if anybody received a confirmation. And then there's a parent sending me a private message. I still don't know what school would be better for my son. I take a stab at that sometimes, but I would love to let one of you all to try that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
again,
Go ahead.
if I may, it's Mom, you're not going to go wrong. Again, you have the opportunity at 2 amazing high schools in the Meadow Creek cluster for selection, and it really just depends on that conversation you have with your student to determine what may be best for your family, right? But again, there's really no right or wrong. No, there's 2 rights. There's no wrong selection in this process. I know that's kind of the blue answer, but it really is true. And it really depends on your student's interest.
Mr. Chair, I know you guys both at the high schools have put a lot of information out on your websites, videos, all kinds of things to kind of give parents an idea of what the schools are like. So again, those links will help if you go to just do a little research on the schools and see which one's right for your kid, but it's going to be a family decision.
Can we ask if anybody else needs any more help? If not, see what we need to do.
Yes, and so I sent a message, Mr. Doing, can you just check it, please?
Mhm. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right, so we all know what to do next. Either we're in two groups, either we are waiting for an email confirming that we did sign up if we got to the last screen without any problems, or we have Mr. Doyne's parent view information and we are waiting for tonight or tomorrow when we hang up to send him a message that we need additional help. Right now, most of us were able to complete the process, so I'm very, very happy about that. 67% completed the process successfully, and it looks like 33% of us are still having trouble. So we do know that we are ready to help those who are still confused or technology is not working. We understand that we will need to follow up. So at this time, we're going to go ahead because we want to get down to the number of families who still need help by making sure that everyone understands how to reach out to Mr. Doyne for a parent view message so that he will know who to follow up with. So if you have successfully went through the process and you answered yes on the poll, I'm going to ask you to log off at this time. Thank you so much. Have a great night. So we're only asking those who did not enroll successfully or register successfully to stay on the call. Thank you, and I see those signing off. Have a great night. Thank you. All right, so those who are on the call, I'm assuming that you were not able to sign up. So sign off if you know how to reach Mr. Doyne by parent view. If you understand what that means and you know you're just going to send him a message so that we can set up some time to help you individually, you know how to do that, you're welcome to sign off at this time. All right, numbers are going down a little bit. So we have 14. Mr. Doyne, do you have any quick instructions that we can put in the chat for those 14 families of how to send you a message or anything that you could tell them to help them? Seems like they're still confused about how to message you. Maybe an email?
Yeah, email. Yeah, email.
Okay.
WhatsApp's fine too.
All right, so we're gonna put an email in the chat. I'm gonna try to type your email without messing it up.
I put it there, but feel free to put
Okay,
it again.
perfect. Thank you. All right, so Mr. Doyne's email address is in the chat. If you are confused about how to send a parent square, you've never done that before, or you're not really sure that he'll get the message, that way he will get the message. But if you're not confident with that, his email and his cell phone, WhatsApp phone number is also in the chat. Jot that down or take a screenshot with your phone and reach out to him sometime tonight or tomorrow. He will reply tomorrow or the following day, but reach out to him to let him know I was on the call. I heard all of the information, but I still need help signing my child up for choosing my high school. And then he would give us the information so that we can follow up. All right, we'll give you about 1 minute to do that.
Yeah, the interpreters are. Ms. Robles is explaining it there.
Okay, and I see that some of the interpreters are still speaking. Takes longer. If you guys give me a thumbs up when you have communicated that information. Okay, awesome. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Robles. All right, so what we're gonna do is go ahead and end this call now. I want to respect everyone's time, but I also don't want to continue frustrating people who are not where we're able to help you. So what we're gonna do, you have the phone number to Mr. Doyne. You know to send we're preferring you to send a Parent Square message, but we've given you the email and the phone number in case you're not able to do that. Okay, please take action by letting us know who you are. We know who was on the call, but we don't know which exact one of you needs help unless you email us to let us know or send a message to let us know. So we're down to 13, which is good, but we also are interested in helping you. So we have everything we need. We're going to go ahead and sign off at this time. I want to respect our interpreter's time and our family's time, and our high school representative, Mr. Charonlock, his time too. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and log off. We are so grateful that you were here tonight, and we will reach out to you if you still need help. So have a great night, and we will see you next time. All right, we're going to count down. 10, 9, looking at the chat, 8,
Let's thank the interpreters. Yeah.
7, 6. I want to thank Karina Abishai. Did I say it correct? I can't hear. Abishai? Is that close? Okay. And Lee, I want to thank the 3 of you for helping to interpret for our families. We know we want to make sure everyone understands everything. Please make sure to give us feedback so we are doing this in the best way and we can improve. But we thank our interpreters. Thank you to the APs, Mr. Brogdon, Mr. Charonlap, and Mrs. Cooks for giving y'all the information, and Mr. Doyne for helping to set this meeting up for us. But we are thank you to you all, and have a great evening. Good night.
Okay, I guess that does it, huh? All right. So yes, thank you, Ms. Robles and Ms. Doan and Ms. Abishag. And just send me a message if you need help. Maneme un mensaje si necesita ayuda. All right. Good night.